we're diving into the very first War Games. A lot of great tidbits and fun, interesting notes about this. That happened in NWA's Jim Crockett Promotions. July 4th, 1987. You're going to love this one. Omni Coliseum, Atlanta, Georgia.
Woo! Yes.
It was called War Games: The Match Beyond because they had to explain it early on that we now know War Games because we grew up on it, that you have the build up to it where it's uneven teams and then it doesn't actually start until all the men are in or women are in the ring. So to explain that, they called it War Games: The Match Beyond because it's War Games and then the match starts once everyone's in the ring.
I see.
So that's how they got the name. No pinfalls, only submission or giving up. You got to throw in the towel. The first match saw the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, team up with Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes, and their manager, Paul Ellering. Paul Ellering was in the very first War Games.
What a beast.
Against the Four Horsemen, Flair, Arn Anderson, Lex Luger, Tully Blanchard, and J.J. Dillon. So 5-on-5, managers on managers. Mm-hmm. They were the last two members in for their teams, but they were very much so in the wrestling. This thing was so sinister from the beginning. Dusty Rhodes is the mastermind behind this. Everyone that he told this idea to thought he was nuts. He finally got Klondike Bill, who was a member of the Dungeon, Stu Hart's Dungeon. A wrestler turned kind of handyman backstage when he couldn't wrestle anymore. He got Klondike Bill to build this. And Bill was like, what are you going to, if I weld it together, how are you going to put it together for time for the match? Dusty's like, don't you worry about it. We're going to suspend it from the ring or from the roof. So Dusty Rhodes and War Games started the cage above the ring.
Love that.
So steel cage matches in the 60s, 70s, and 80s before this, the crowd had to go to the bathroom or the concession stand while they put the ring together. Dusty's like, we're not doing that.
No.
Drop it.
Drop it.
So I thought that was cool. That was the very first iteration.
Shine some lights on it.
Yeah. Have some flares come off of it.
Make it look sinister.
Yeah. Dusty came up with this while watching Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Yes.
He also got the idea from watching hockey with the penalty box. So that's what inspired the man advantage back and forth. He was worried that the front seats were going to be so close that no one would want to buy them. So they were thinking of getting rid of the seats. But Jim Crockett was like, we actually need that money. So instead they charged more for the seats. So unfortunately, this in turn started the trend of front row seats costing more money. So front row seating was the premium brand new concept to wrestling. Mm. All members, this is a fun little fact, the Road Warriors, Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes, and Paul Ellering would go on to win. The faces just won most matches back then. You know, not a lot of heels going over unless they were the world champ. You know, but all members of the winning team would go on to stay undefeated in War Games, with Paul Ellering going 6 for 6, Nikita Koloff going 11-0, Dusty going 11-0, and Hawk and Animal going 13-0 in War Games matches. Wow. They used to do this match at house shows like lunatics.
I mean, I bet it was a blast.
Right?
I bet they were having the best time, just throwing each other around.
You could see the script was kind of the same for the first couple, so they're like, hey, you remember the spot? Yeah, we have to do that again.
Yeah, that's a good spot. Yeah, I like that.
Got to do that again. Yeah. It was the Great American Bash Tour in 1987. They did Atlanta, Charlotte, and then Virginia, I believe.
Okay.
Richmond. I think they did Richmond. I'm not positive on that. I can't remember the last one. They definitely did Atlanta and then Charlotte. This was leading up to the pay-per-view debut with Starrcade, November 1987. The match was so brutal that J.J. Dillon, when he entered the match, got busted open immediately. They did the doomsday device on him. He separated his shoulder so bad he needed surgery. Mm. So for the rest of the tour, J.J. Dillon was replaced by War Machine, a.k.a. Big Boss Man. Mm. They threw Big Boss Man behind a mask and called him War Machine and said, get in there. Nikita Koloff and Dusty Rhodes also sustained injuries, but they were able to keep going. Jim Crockett. So the reason that this has such big implications is they were always looking for something bigger and better. Because if you recall, 1987 was a tumultuous time in the wrestling business. This is when Vince McMahon was buying up all the talent. Territories were going under or selling or combining. So this is why the NWA was so important, because they were the only collection of promotions that were able to band together and survive McMahon grabbing all the talent up and all the TV deals. So this was fun because around this time, Jim Crockett Promotions had just purchased UWF, the Universal Wrestling Federation, which was Bill Watts Mid-South. You remember all the stories from Mid-South Wrestling in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And they had also taken over operations of Championship Wrestling from Florida. So they had Jim Crockett Promotions, the UWF, which was Mid-South, and Championship. All these historic territories were now in Jim Crockett Promotions. So they were trying to go above and beyond to really battle WWF, because this, WWF had just launched WrestleMania. They were on their third WrestleMania at this point. Just killing everybody. Those TV deals, the deals with MTV at that point. So they were doing anything and everything. So I can imagine walking in and being like, "What do you got for us?" Well, I got this match called War Games.
Yeah.
Pretty good selling point.
Yeah.
Jim Crockett Promotions would eventually become WCW themselves. So they lost out to all of this too. Mm-hmm. So it was great, man. I watched it today. I found it on YouTube. I found some commentary on it too. And it was so loud and the audience was so into this match that all you hear is Jim Ross yelling into his headset.
Yeah.
Trying to keep up with the calls. And he just can't because the crowd is on fire. We're talking about international crowds. The Omni in Atlanta showed up and showed out.
Yeah. As they did.
They did.